The time by Carrie Chris is 6 p.m. Time for CBX Business News. The Business News headlines is brought to you by QMax Wealth Management, making more possible.
CBX Business News for Wednesday, October 8, 2025. I'm Rochelle Moncrief. Thanks for joining us. Coming up in the newscast, locally, Jamaica unveils a 10-year creative economy plan designed to drive growth. On the regional front, U.S. indicts prominent Guyanese businessmen in a U.S. $50 million gold fraud case. Government prepares for a possible extradition request. And over on the global stage, the Federal Reserve signals more rate cuts amid growth concern. Stay tuned as we unpack these stories and more right
Flavors and Fragrances Limited has been a part of Jamaica's manufacturing landscape for over 20 years. By crafting unique flavors and fragrances, we have become a part of your favorite household and food items such as beverages, ice cream, household cleaners, and much more. Known throughout the Caribbean for the highest quality, we continue to innovate with strong leadership, a dedicated team with integrity. We go the extra mile for our customers. Create the next taste sensation. Contact us at 876-9235-111 or visit our website, Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn pages.
The local news is brought to you by Darriman Trading, better from the start. Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances, tease the senses. And Pulse Investments.
Jamaica unveils a 10-year creative economy plan to drive growth. Regionally, U.S. indicts prominent Guyanese businessmen in gold fraud case. Government prepares for possible extradition. And internationally, Fed signals more rate cuts amid growth concerns. Those were the stories making today's CBX Evening News. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Rochelle Moncrief. Thanks for watching CBX, your region, your business, your source. Welcome back to CBX Business News. We begin with Jamaica's bold new blueprint to turn creativity into capital and culture into commerce. The government has tabled the National Policy for Culture, Entertainment and the Creative Economy 2025 to 2035. This 10-year plan seeks to move Jamaica's creative power from passion to profit. positioning the island's talent as a driver of sustained economic growth. Tabled in Parliament by Culture Minister Olivia Babsy-Grange, the Green Paper policy targets the full value chain of Jamaica's creative industries, setting out the framework to formalize, finance, and protect one of the country's fastest growing sectors.
It encapsulates a number of benefits and protections which will enshrine safeguards around the Jamaica Entertainers and Creative Insurance Plan, which we introduced recently, and it provides both life, accident, and health insurance for entertainers or creatives or cultural practitioners and or cultural communities.
Minister Grange notes that the sector already contributes to the country's overall GDP and national employment.
It undergirds incentives around tools of trade, facilitates preferential and free movement of entertainers, creatives, and cultural practitioners, strengthens the sector through the recognition, integration, and sustainability of associations within the sector. Jamaica's creative economy is already a significant contributor to national development, generating over 5% of GDP and supporting nearly 3% of employment. This performance places entertainment, culture, and the creative industries alongside tourism, construction, agriculture, and other vital pillars of our economy.
That was Culture Minister Olivia Babsy-Grange. We move to a vote of confidence in Jamaica's financial system. Global ratings agency S&P Global has revised the outlook for NCB Financial Group and its flagship subsidiary, National Commercial Bank Jamaica Limited, upgrading it from stable to positive. This follows S&P's recent upgrade of Jamaica's sovereign rating to BB. S&P affirmed NCB Financial Group's long-term rating at B- and B and BB- and B for the bank, citing the country's sustained fiscal discipline, improved institutions, and robust macroeconomic management. The agency noted Jamaica's banking sector continues to show resilience and strong asset quality, underpinned by prudent regulation and conservative lending. With that environment, NCBJ remains the island's largest lender, supported by a diversified business model, solid funding base, and consistent revenues. S&P's positive outlook indicates the potential for an upgrade within 6 to 18 months, depending on continued economic gains and strong credit fundamentals. NCB Financial Group CEO Robert Almeida says the revision is a strong endorsement of disciplined execution and the strength of our business model, adding that the group remains focused on efficiency, governance, and long-term shareholder value. Jamaican manufacturer Blue Power Group is charting a bold new course, revealing plans to expand beyond its signature bar soap line and positioning itself for deeper growth across the personal and home care sector. The company, long recognized for its trusted laundry bar soaps, says the next phase of its journey will see major diversification, underpinned by new investments in land and manufacturing capacity.
Right now, Blue Power operates primarily in the bar soap space. I think that our company has recognized fully that innovation is necessary. We have to continue growing, and so our plan is to expand beyond bar soap. So we plan to stay within the personal and home care category, but we do see ourselves utilizing the land across the road, which we have purchased recently, to help us expand into new categories outside of bar soap, to include liquids.
That was General Manager of Blue Power Limited, Vijay Tolan, speaking with CBX News at the JMEA Manufacturers and Exporters Awards held recently at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel. Blue Power's announcement comes on the heels of a triple win at this year's ceremony, taking home the Charles Henderson Award for Breakthrough Product of the Year in the non-food category. The best performing manufacturing company listed on the junior market, and the Consular Corps of Jamaica Next Generation Leadership Award. In financial news, shareholders of Consolidated Bakeries Jamaica Limited, the makers of Purity products, will soon get a full update on the company's 2024 performance. The directors have advised that the annual report for the year ended December 31, 2024 will be made available no later than October 19, 2025. The report will be accessible on the Jamaica Stock Exchange website, with printed copies delivered by the stated date. Meanwhile, the company's annual general meeting has been scheduled for November 19, 2025 at the Ligani Club in Kingston. We go now to updates from the Bank of Jamaica on how the currency markets traded today. In Wednesday's trading session, the US dollar is selling for $161.62, the Canadian for $116.07, the pound sterling for $215.81, and the going rate for the euro is $189.02. We move to the latest updates from the JSE equities. In Wednesday's trading session, the JSE market activity resulted in the trading of 107 stocks, of which 44 advanced, 47 declined, and 16 traded firm. The winners are Iron Rock Insurance Company, JMMB Group 8.50% USD, Epley Caribbean Property Fund SCC, and Tropical Battery Company. While leading the losers are First Rock Real Estate Investments, Blue Power Group, Jetcon Corporation, and ISP Finance Services. The main index advanced by 511.90 points, or 0.16%, to close at 322,981.25 points. The junior market index declined by 12.07 points, or 0.36%, to close at 3,356.77 points.
And it's time for Market Education Feature, brought to you by CARICRIS, Regional Ratings, Global Standard.
In today's Market Education Feature, we're defining the term variable interest rate. A variable interest rate, also called an adjustable or floating rate, is one that changes over time. It's usually linked to a benchmark index or preference rate that is periodically adjusted by the lender or central bank. The key advantage is that when the benchmark rate falls, borrowers pay less in interest. However, when the rate increases, their payments increase. This makes variable rates more unpredictable than fixed rates, which stay the same throughout the life of the loan.
The Market Education Feature was brought to you by CARICRIS, Regional Ratings, Global Standards.
And that's it for the local news segment. Please stay with us. The regional news is up next.
Brought to you by Diamond Trading, better from the start. Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances, tease the senses. And Pulse Investments.
Are so much book you need for high school?
I'll show you how to make sure you have all the money for my books and even some extra. It's called budgeting, Dad. Making a budget is the most important thing you can do to track your money. It keeps a record of how much you make, how much you spend, where you spend it, and most importantly, how much you can save. Write down all your income, write down all your expenses, see where you can cut down and allot more money to more important things, like saving.
Back. And now for the regional business news. Guyana's business and financial landscape is facing global scrutiny after U.S. prosecutors handed down an 11-count indictment against prominent gold and construction magnates Azruddin and Nazar Mohammed, alleging a multi-million-dollar gold export fraud and money laundering scheme. The indictment follows last year's U.S. sanctions on the Mohammed Group, accusing it of large-scale gold smuggling and tax evasion estimated at U.S. $50 million. Speaking during his weekly program on Tuesday, Attorney General Anil Nandal says the government of Guyana stands ready to cooperate under its long-standing extradition treaty with the United States, describing the process as strictly legal and transparent.
Guyana has made it very clear that it is ready, willing, and the most able to diligently discharge its legal duties and obligations under the current extradition framework that exists with the United States of America in relation to this matter.
He says any formal U.S. request will trigger procedures laid out in law, not politics.
At this point in time, we are awaiting the request. Once the request is received, then the requisite legal process will unfold in accordance with the procedure set out in the law.
That was Guyana's Attorney General, Anil Nandlal. The Caribbean community is doubling down on its regional food security ambitions, unveiling a new framework called 25 by 2025 plus 5, aimed at sustaining progress in reducing the region's food import bill and boosting self-sufficiency through 2030. At the opening of the 19th Caribbean Week of Agriculture in St. Kitts and Nevis on Tuesday, Assistant Secretary General of CARICOM, Dr. Wendell Samuel, announced that the region's drive to cut food imports by 25% will be extended 5 more years to secure lasting resilience.
We have now extended this effort through 25 by 25 plus 5, not as an admission of delay, but as a declaration of resolve. It signals that our community is serious about consolidating gains, scaling up successful approaches, and achieving long-term resilience by 2030.
He says the new 25 by 2025 plus 5 framework sets fresh priorities through 2030.
25 by 2025 plus 5 is therefore more than a target. It is a strategic framework for action, focusing on some key outcomes, including scaling up of priority commodities such as poultry, small ruminants, root crops, fruits and vegetables, embracing climate-smart agriculture to counter the risk of drought, flooding, and hurricanes.
That was CARICOM's Assistant Secretary General, Dr. Wendell Samuel. In other news, the World Bank is urging Caribbean nations to unlock their entrepreneurial potential as a catalyst for faster growth and job creation. In its latest Latin America and the Caribbean Economic Review, the bank warns that despite a strong interest in entrepreneurship, the region's economies are being held back by low productivity and limited access to finance. The report highlighted that most Caribbean entrepreneurs operate small informal businesses with little capacity to expand, while too few possess the skills or support needed to innovate and scale. Consequently, the World Bank recommends targeted reforms to strengthen financial systems, modernize education, and promote technical and managerial training, especially in science, technology, and entrepreneurship. It also calls for policies that make it easier for startups to access credit and talent across borders. It's now time for news from the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 18 securities, of which 6 advanced, 3 declined, and 9 traded firm. Today's winners are Angostura Holdings, Calypso Macro Index Fund, First Citizens Group Financial Holdings, and Massey Holdings, while leading the losers are A.S. Bryden and Sons Holdings, Trinidad and Tobago NGL, and Republic Financial Holdings. Trading activity resulted in the following movements. The All-TNT Index declined by 2.21 points to close at 1,438.44. The Composite Index declined by 1.15 points to close at 987.04. The Cross-Listed Index remained at 70.50. The SME Index remained at 99.17. And we take a short break. But please do stay with us. The international news segment is up next. In international news, the U.S. Federal Reserve has opened the door to further interest rate cuts this year as policymakers weigh a slowing economy against still elevated inflation. Minutes from the September FOMC meeting reveal that most officials believe rates are now close to a neutral level, following September's 25 basis point reduction, the first cut since December, bringing the benchmark range to 4 to 4.25%. While the Fed noted a rise in downside risk to employment, it also emphasized that inflation pressures remain skewed to the upside. Roughly half of the committee expects 2 more cuts before the end of 2025. Analysts say the shift reflects growing confidence that inflation can be managed without triggering a recession, though policymakers warn that any resurgence in price pressures could slow or pause the easing cycle. And as central bankers weigh their next move, one of the world's largest energy companies says its latest mega merger is already showing signs of outperforming expectations. Chevron Chief Executive Officer Mike Wirth says the oil major is on track to exceed the financial targets it outlined after its US $55 billion acquisition of Hess Corporation. At an internal town hall meeting, Wirth told employees that Chevron's history of post-merger gains gives him confidence that the Hess deal will deliver more value than forecast. Chevron completed the takeover in July following a protracted arbitration battle with ExxonMobil. The purchase secures Chevron a 30% stake in Guyana's Stabroek Block, one of the world's most prolific oil discoveries, estimated to hold at least 11 billion barrels. The company has projected US $1 billion in synergies and raised its 2026 free cash flow target to $12.5 billion. Chevron is set to update investors at a major briefing on November 12. While energy markets look for steady returns, political turbulence and fiscal uncertainty elsewhere are pushing investors toward traditional safe havens. And gold is glittering once again. Gold prices have surged to new record highs as investors flee risk amid global political and fiscal tension. With no breakthrough yet in the U.S. Congress to avert a government shutdown and rising unrest in France, rattling confidence in Europe, markets have turned defensive. Central banks continue to buy gold at a historic pace, while exchange-traded fund inflows have accelerated sharply. Spot gold is holding above US $4,000 per ounce, and analysts see the next resistance near $4,114, driven by both structural demand and speculative fear of missing out buying. However, market strategists warn that any resolution in Washington could prompt quick profit-taking as stretched technical indicators leave prices vulnerable to a near-term correction. Still, with expectations building for further Fed rate cuts, gold's fundamental appeal as a store of value remains firmly intact. And finally, in technology, the race to dominate artificial intelligence continues to fuel Wall Street's biggest winners, with NVIDIA once again leading the charge. NVIDIA's Chief Executive Officer Jensen Huang says the world's demand for artificial intelligence is booming, and the wave of growth is only just beginning. In a recent interview, Huang says computing needs have surged dramatically in the past 6 months as AI reshapes industries from finance and logistics to entertainment. Shares of NVIDIA rose 2% in midweek trading, extending a rally that's lifted the company's stock nearly 40% this year and made it the world's most valuable publicly traded company. The optimism also rippled across the tech sector, boosting chip makers Micron, AMD, and Super Microcomputer after fresh partnership deals with OpenAI. Huang says his biggest regret was not investing more in emerging AI players such as OpenAI and CoreWeave, and confirmed NVIDIA's investment in Elon Musk's XAI venture, describing it as a must-have opportunity. And that's your look at the global forces driving today's markets, from the Fed's policy pivot to Chevron's energy ambitions, the surge in gold, and NVIDIA's unstoppable rise. When we return, your CBX Business News recap of the top stories shaping business across Jamaica, the Caribbean, and the globe.
Let's all get fit. This summer set drip. Hip dips and split. For wine the mind, let's get healthy with it. Sometimes the body's so hard, but everybody wants it. And then your head is so home, and it's so like this.
Jamaica unveils a 10-year creative economy plan to drive growth. Regionally, U.S. indicts prominent Guyanese businessmen in gold fraud case. Government prepares for possible extradition. And internationally, Fed signals more rate cuts amid growth concerns. Those were the stories making today's CBX Evening News. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Rochelle Moncrief. Thanks for watching CBX, your region, your business, your source.
I'm Cherie Williams, founder and CEO at Vika. You're watching CBX, your region, your business, your source.